Hi. Welcome to What's the Book About? I'm your host Kevin, and this is Wizardry Compiled by Rick Cook. This is the story of one wizard slash programmer who changed the world and the people who want to change it back. So it's been a year since the end of the previous novel, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, just go watch the previous video to catch up. Now, Wiz and Moira are married, and they've passed that honeymoon phase of the marriage. Also, Wiz is now one of the members of the Council of the North, the good wizards that watch and protect the average Joe person from the magical world around them. Now, Wiz is kind of feeling overwhelmed with all his duties as a member of the Council of the North. The duties on a council, the duties to teach the new magic he's created, and the duty to actually create and perfect the magic that he's been working on. Unaccustomed to all these duties, he's falling behind on all of them, and his marriage is also suffering. Now, on a simple investigation, Wiz discovers that some of his magic is being misused by the common people. Locals are fighting against the local magic that they share, and magical creatures that they share this world with, using it to attack those that are benign, turning his life's work into a weapon of destruction. And the creatures naturally are frightened of these humans that are expanding out into the world and unleashing strange, powerful new magic on even the mundane and harmless. This is causing them to band together to decide to wipe humanity from the face of the earth, erasing them quite literally in a few places. Okay, so that's the spoiler-free introduction. Be warned, from here on in there may be a few spoilers. I'll try to keep it to a minimum. Now, the big secret from the first book is that Wiz learns to use magic in the way that he programs, and that he takes small, little, inconsequential spells that have very little power and manages to combine them and compile them until they're very powerful, very effective, and as the architect of all this new magic, it's his responsibility to perfect it, to make it safe, to teach other people how to use it, and this various different tasks are just overwhelming him, and ends up having a blowout with his wife, Moira, and after which he goes on that investigation I mentioned earlier. Now, Moira actually goes and sees Shaira from the first book to get marriage counseling advice to figure out what to do when Wiz comes back. Except when Wiz tries to return from the investigation, he gets waylaid by the remnants of the Dark Legion, and he gets pulled into the city that he destroyed, and he has to fight for his life to try to escape them. The traps, the dangers, and the leftover magic from the first book and the consequences of what he's done. Now, Moira, meanwhile, has come to this epiphany that instead of snatching people, which Wiz has flat out denied letting anyone try to snatch someone from our world to help, no, she's decided, let's go there and recruit people, tell them what they're gonna face, give them the option to come. And it's still dangerous, and there's still all kinds of risks, but Moira convinces the Council of the North, the leaders, to send her to our world, and they send her to where they grabbed Wiz from, which happens to be his old workplace, where she meets Wiz's best friend, Larry. Once she connects with Larry, she ends up getting help from him to recruit other programmers. And they get a whole team of people, all sorts of interesting characters and unique personalities, and they come to the magical world and they take up Wiz's duties. The team creates a programming system like Windows, but for magic, so it's safe to use, easy for people to deal with, and most importantly, since they live in a world of magic, that it's safe. That, well, you really don't want to be inside the computer when it crashes, so they put tons and tons of safety programs onto it. And there's all sorts of great comedic moments as they're exploring the possibilities and dynamics of what it would be like for programmers to program magic but be inside the machine that does it all. Now, once this team gets near to completion of the goal, Wiz finally manages to make his way home. Much more humble, he and the team and the Council of North try to figure out what to do with the looming threat of the inhuman magical creatures that are banded together to try to wipe out humanity because they're expanding too far and killing too many creatures. But the thing is, no one has a plan. No one knows what to do. And when they do come up with a plan, it's inventive and interesting, and oh my god, a couple of moments of implementation are just out and out hilariously funny. So we end up, Wiz manages to regain a sense of balance, and when they send most of the programmers off, a couple stay for personal reasons, and Wiz manages to reconcile with his wife, saving his relationship, saving his professional relationship as well as his personal one, and saving the humanity as a whole. So what's good and bad about this book? There's lots, really, of great stuff between Wiz and Moira and their relationship. I mean, it's handled superbly. The massive change that they've gone through is reflected in their relationship and how they're dealing with the situation they find themselves in. It's got a real sense of realism, it's really well crafted, and it's got a lot of depth. Okay, there's a subplot as well with the Duke elf named Elric, and hinting that, yes, he has a larger goal in mind, and he's involved in this particular novel as a little bit, but just to further the fact that he's planning much, much farther out than the humans are thinking. Another great thing about this is the cabal of programmers. Each one is an individual with their own quirks and personalities, and actually ends up playing out through their programming as well as their own personal interactions. Not only that, but their interactions with the old guard, the old wizards, and the old magic. There are factions and both the good and evil side of this, as well as factions within the good side, because a massive change like this to a universe or a culture will definitely create friction, and it's represented really realistically here. And sometimes to great dramatic effect, and sometimes just hilarious comedic effect. And there's a lot of programming jargon and technical stuff used here, but it's always accompanied by an explanation. And in fact, there's a section on teaching where it shows how these different people think about the programming. And it's never overused or overly technical. I'd say maybe a moderate level of technical details, but since it's always explained, and explained either comedically or rather brilliantly, it never really bogs down the story. In fact, it actually solves a plot point in that the old guard doesn't know this stuff, and getting the new cabal of wizards to teach them some of this is really well handled. Now, it's not just the programmers and the cabal and the evil wizards that have this great group dynamic, though. It's also the secondary and minor characters are given a lot of time to flesh out. Well, not lots and lots of time so it clogs up the story with character growth and development, but enough so that it pushes the story to the next level and pushes the plot along without feeling hampered or overly dry. So in the end, what is the book about? Consequences. Everything is centered around either the direct or indirect consequences of Wiz's actions from the first book. The villains have to deal with the destruction of their league and the decimation of their city, and the heroes' Council of the North has to deal with the monumental changes Wiz has wrought by bringing this new magic into the world. It changes how they deal with magic. It changes how they deal with the average Joe citizen that they were protecting and guiding and guarding. Even the creatures of the world, the magical creatures, have to deal with the consequences of what Wiz has wrought and the indirect consequences of the people spreading out and attacking them when they were either benign. I mean, they were used to being attacked if they were vicious or predatory, but having humans going after them when they were benign or helpful causes them to threaten humanity and band together like they would never have before. All in all, this book is all wrapped around this exciting adventure with Wiz and this humorous and dramatic adventure with Moira and the programmers, until you get this deft book with very well crafted characters, a great story, and this is why I have to give this particular book 4 out of 4 stars. Now, this book is published by Baen, and it can be hard to get the individual paperback, but like I said in the previous video, they still do sell the combined first and second book under the title of Wiz Biz, but you can still get the single book as an ebook. So there's no reason you shouldn't go out and get it. Get it in joy. Till next time, have a good one.